Hey up everybody, and welcome back. Well, it's a little bit like a time warp, isn't it? Because it's a week since you just heard me say goodbye, but for me it's only been a couple of minutes. Must have travelled through a black hole. Alright, so we're just going to carry on from where we left off. I'll show you something, a query I had at the end of last week's that I've checked up on, and we're alright. So basically what we're going to do now is make the swinging arm, and then when we've made the swinging arm we will make the box for it to go into, and then when we've made the box we can see where it's going to go here to get our chain line right, the up and down chain right here. And then once that's done, because this, as you know, goes right down to rest on a piece of wood, so that's got to be cut, and we're going to use this as a template. I'm going to measure the angle that it gets to the headstock there, and then we'll use our new tube notcher to do that. This will come down and go to a flat end, but what I'll do is make this starting from that end, and not cut this short until I know exactly what's what. Then when we've made the box section we can put that in. And the reason, actually, no, couldn't think of it, see I'm getting ahead of myself. When I make the box section I want the side of the box section. You remember on the Otter I used the sides of the box section to come out, to mount the footrests on. Well, we're not doing this time, the sides will come straight down, but I want them to come down and bolt to these engine plates. So then the frame will come down, it'll be solid to the box because it'll be welded on, and then the box will be bolted to the engine plates, and the engine plates are bolted to the gearbox and to the engine, and then we'll have that going up there. So this will be really rigid. Okay, so let me show you the finishing off bit from last week, and then we'll get stuck into cutting some oblong section box tube. Right, we remember I suddenly had a thought about clearance for this disc. So I've done that now, so it's exactly the same as the drawing on the table. So if I put that there, that's going up into there like that. As you can see, this it's nowhere near the disc, so I have no problem with that at all. Alright, so let's go and look at making this swinging arm. So there's the tube notcher all set up with its circular sawing, 1.5 inches. Now this here, where you clamp it in, you may notice these lines. That's for when you're not using round tube. Fortunately, the way they're set, they'll hold. That's 1.5 inches, so that goes in like thus. You really have to clamp this up because I did a test piece. Where is it? Which I made a bit of a mess of. I just did a test piece with some round, and things started moving. I had to stop and tighten everything up, tighten this clamp bolt, which you can just see. Hang on. This clamp bolt, which stops that from going up and down. The clamp bolt through there, because that moved slightly. This clamp I had to tighten right up. But anyway, it worked. So I set it up again, and that came through and did my cut, and I've checked it on the table and it's pretty good. So now what I'm going to do, and if you can see there's my notch that I'm going to cut out of there, and then we'll bend that this way and tack it. I decided to do the milling last because I wanted to make sure I got this end right. Though it's no good me milling this if I then screw this end up. This is the more difficult end to do. So the idea was to make this longer than I needed, but I think I've only just cut it long enough. But it's 14 inches. I've got a 6-foot piece of this, so we can always make another one. Right, so let me cut the notch. So I cut my little notch. Actually, what I did was I used the cardboard that I'd done. I cut that through the joint and marked where the 2 joints were on there. So let's see if that was a good idea or not. So that is going to go on there like that. My God. I'm actually looking at the outside line. We're virtually spot on. So now what I've got to do is cut another notch in here. So I'll mark where the notch is. Mark it. I do it on the bandsaw. And then we'll put it in the mill and mill a slot in there. 1/4 inch slot. We'll mill a slot in there. I'll mark it here, pull this round, mill the slot in for... It's vanished, there it is. For that to go into, like that. Alright. There's the second one done. You could say I've slightly over notched them. But I was thinking as I was doing the notches, how am I going to get into V? But this little gap is just nice. That'll give me full penetration when I do the weld. And then as I say, that is going to go in there. It's going to be perfect. So I'm going to tack these up. And then we'll do the one on the other side. Because I want to... get those milled. I've still got to cut the 1/4 inch plate pieces. I'm not going to weld them to this end or bronze them to this end yet. What I want to do is get those pieces made, and then I'll make, hang on, then I'll make a piece to go through here, just a piece of threaded rod with 4 nuts on and some big washers, so I can clamp that exactly the right width where I want it to be, and then I'll put the with the magnets and everything, and then we can tack these ends and make sure those are in, to make sure the plates are not only exactly right on both sides, but they're both vertical. Alright, so let me just put a bit of weld in there and there, so that these don't get accidentally bent. So there's 2 of them done. To admit, this one I had a little bit of trouble with it pulling in, so it's going to be slightly wider than I wanted it. But anyway, the coped at both ends are done. All the bends are in. Now you can see I put some red die chem on. That one's marked. What I've done, I was thinking about doing the milling, the 1/4. I'm using a 1/4 inch end mill, so that'll be just the right size for the plate that's going to go in there. And I don't have an end mill long enough to do both sides at once. So that set me thinking, oh God, now I've got to, you know, really make sure I'm dead right when I flip it over. Otherwise, when I put the plates in, they could be at an angle. So what I did was marked where the 1/4 inch end mill is going to go, and I've already done it on this side. Put it in the mill, drilled straight through, right out the other side. So now I can put the 1/4 inch end mill in there, come out, flip it over, put the end mill in the hole on the other side, and do that. And then I know I've done in exactly the same spot in each arm. So let me drill this hole, and then we'll swap over and put the end mill in. Right then, so we're all set up with a 1/4" end mill. It's lined up to go right in that hole there. But before we do this, let me forestall some comments. Yes, I wouldn't have any trouble with that swinging arm deforming slightly if I'd have built a nice big stiff jig to hold both ends, but I didn't. All right. Right then, so now I'm going to flip it over. Right, so I've flipped it over. Now if everything is right, I haven't moved this crosswise, that should go in that hole. Well, would you believe it? Every now and again I get things right, you know. Okay. Okay, and there we are. There's a long 1/4" drill. Spot on, spot on. Okay. Do the other one, then we're going to cut some 1/4" plate. Right, well, my little mind must have been working in the background last night, because suddenly, yesterday evening, I had a couple of thoughts, which this morning I've had to come out and check straight away. One was, where's the chain going to go in relation to the box? Actually, the more I think about this and look at things, really, I was creating problems where there weren't any. So what I've done anyway is set these two up to show where the chain's going to go. This sprocket is going to be smaller than this one, but I would think not much. In fact, that's as small as it could possibly get. Might even be a little bit bigger, which would open this out. That's a 40 tooth, so it won't be any smaller than that. It might even be a little bit bigger. So inside this is our space, and I was worried because to maximise the width of the swinging arm pivot, I had the box coming out through here. I was worried, oh, is there enough space to do it? Is there enough depth there for the size of the box? Well, I didn't have to worry about it because that's the way the otter frame does. It comes out here, the chain runs above and below the box. But anyway, I came out and made this, and as you can see, it would be up here. There's lots of space. And the other thing I suddenly thought was, well, I want the side of the box to continue down to bolt to this. I can't do that if the box is on the outside of the chain. And in fact, I'll be honest, I just did a little video saying that I couldn't do that, and then I thought, no, you're being stupid. The chain isn't fixed, the chain goes on and off. So it doesn't matter if the box comes down here, does it? The side of the box, because I'm putting the chain on and off. It's not in the way. I don't have to put, the chain doesn't go on. I was thinking almost, oh, that's a loud lorry, as if I have to put it on that way, but I don't. The chain just gets looped round. So I can go with my original plan, and the side of the box on this side will go down a bolt to that. So that makes things so much easier. All right, let's get back to the swinging arm. Right then, let's see if we can cut these out something reasonably like. Been watching IC Weld. His torch cutting is just unbelievable. Things come out as if he used a bandsaw for them. And I've noticed he always has his hand resting. So let's see if that does us any good at all. We've got a little safety thing on this. Oh yeah. Flip that lot out of the way. Oh, I tell you what helps with these. Important thing to remember with these plasma cutters, you've got to switch it on. All right. Try it again. Okay. It actually works. Hey! Thank you, IC Weld. Not perfectly perfect, but nearly perfect. Alright, there's the first sort of blank dressed up to the right shape. I tell you what, I envy the people who have CNC plasma, or particularly water jet, because you saw how quickly the plasma cuts it out, but it's taken me about half an hour to with files and what have you to get that to the right shape. So the next thing is, there's the other one. I'll put that on there, scribe that, sand that back to shape. Then what I'm going to do is I'll tack weld them together so that when I drill that hole it's going to be in exactly the right spot, and when we mill out the slot here, where are we? When we mill out that slot, it's going to be the same in both of them, same that. And if you're wondering why this is a bit bigger here, it's because this rectangular section tube that I'm using is slightly bigger than the round tube that this went into, so I wanted it to stick up above and below. So what it does do is, I can actually show you, and what I've also done is rounded the end so that, let me make sure you can see all this. Where are we? That's the one that goes over there. So that goes in there. And you see a little bit will stick up top and bottom. I might take a little bit more off. But the idea is, with that sticking up like that, I can build up a nice big fillet both sides, and that will really put that in there nice and strongly. So there's that first one done. So let me go and do all the stuff on this, and then we'll put it in the mill and do our hole and mill our slot. Right, so I've finished these two off to be the same, and spot welded various places around. Then I've marked on where that hole's going to be, so we'll drill a 3/8 hole through there. We know it's spot on. This is in the centre. The rear wheel spindle is 665.665. So I've done 0.333 each side. At least I should have. That doesn't look like it, does it? But you know what my maths is like. Let's have a look. I know I've got this one right. Oh, I know what I've done. I've just done 333 from there. So that's right. See, because what I did there was, that's 0.8. So I went 1133 there. But what I did was I just went 333 from there. So it should be 800 less 333. So let me do that. Anyway, once that's done, this is how long it's going to be. So it's just over, fractionally over 5/8. What's 5/8? 625. So it's only 1/8 thou more. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill a 5/8 hole, pop a 5/8 mill in, run down to here. Then we'll go sort of a couple of thou this way, run back, a couple of thou extra that way, run back. And then we'll check the wheel spindle in it. Alright, and then when I've done that, we'll split them off, and we can get set to bronzing them into the tubes. So let me put that line in the right place. Right, so I got it in the mill. I've drilled the 3/8 hole, and I drilled a 5/8 hole there. Gripping it isn't that easy actually. What I've had to do to make sure it runs straight is just grip it so that it was skew width, and then swivel this so that it's tracking in a straight line. But we should be fine. Let's see. We're going to have to go really slowly because it's such an awkward shape to grip. fix. I'll bring you back when I've finished. So there's the two of them finished. There we go. So the next thing to do is put all these bits together. Right, now what I've done here is I've got out the jig that I use when I'm doing the BSAs, because that swinging arm is 15 inches long as well. Yes. So what we will do is we're going to put those in there like thus. Then we're going to get some 1/2 inch rod to go through there, bolt these up, get it all dead right. I had to make up pieces here because this is narrower than the other one, but that's on a piece of 3/4 that's going to be holding it. And then when that's all held together, I might have to put a piece underneath here and a couple of clamps, but when I've got all that clamped up together, we'll bolt it up. So that's how it'll go in the jig. I've run out of 1/2 inch coarse nuts, but I've just checked we're 15 inches from the centre of there to the centre of there, 15 from the centre of there to the centre of there. We are 8 9/16 there. Sorry, 13/16. 8 13/6 there. 13/16 there. And under there. Oh, I can't get under there. So it would appear that that and that are parallel, that and that are parallel. So things are looking good. And as it happens, it's getting on for 5 o'clock, so I'll get some more nuts and we'll finish bolting all that up so that it's held tight and start fastening it in. Right, well, I almost slipped up again, getting ahead of myself, because when I made these spacing pieces, I made this centered on the center line, and of course it isn't. It's, I don't know, 2 3/8 one way, 2 3/4 the other way. So now I redid the spacing pieces. That's exactly where it should be relative to the center line. So what I've also done is I've made up 2 spacing pieces, chain side, disc side. When they're in there, and they're fortunately the right size to be able to put this through, and that's through, these are exactly right as well, being offset from the center line, because you'll see, look, they're different lengths. Okay, let me get that the right way around this. Then what I've also cut is this piece, which is the exact length between here and there. So when that's in there with a piece of 3/8 in, pardon me, then everything will be clamped exactly right. We do some measurements. We measure the distance across the top and across the bottom to make sure they're the same, and that means they're vertical, and we'll measure the distance at the back and at the front of those, or I suppose that's the front and that's the back really, but anyway, and then that will make sure that they're parallel. So we'll have them vertical, parallel, everything clamped up. It'll hold them exactly right against these, and then we can start bronzing up in various places to make things right. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a couple of marks on these plates so that I get them identically positioned in the two arms, and then I'll just tack them. Then I'll bolt it all together and we can start fixing it up. So let me get that done. So there it is, all in the jig. It's all been tacked. I've actually done a couple of little bits of bronze here for when I was doing this. I didn't like those bits of plastic tube, so I made some alloy ones up which are a large diameter to give me a better... the plastic ones were allowing it to move a little bit. So that's all done. Let's have a look here. Eight and a quarter, 8 1/4, 8 1/4, 8 1/4, 8 1/4. Just a second, just get it in here. 8 1/4. So parallel, vertical. I measured it. 15 inches there, 15 inches there, everything is right. So I'll bronze these tops in. I can turn it over, I can bronze them in at the bottom with it in the jig. Then I can take this out of here and flip this over and do the other sides of this, get it all done. Then we've got to make up our strengthening gussets here. And I'll probably make some little pieces for where I did the notches, just like a little butterfly piece, top and bottom, so they can't flex and break. They shouldn't, but you know, for the sake of another ounce on the way to the bike, we'll make sure it's nice and solid. So let me set to and get these bronzed in. Right then, so I put the swinging arm in to see if everything was right. The wheel is now as far forward as it will go. This is 1/4 inch. I've got a 1/4 inch there basically, and a 1/4 inch there. So with the wheel back a bit, we've got plenty of tyre clearance. We've got a 1/4 inch going well into there for our box, so don't forget the box isn't going to stick out that much. And we've got plenty of space this side. In fact, I could have made it longer this side, looking at it. But also what I've done is I've moved this engine over, which way? That way, a little bit, so that the chain line actually on this side is now exactly straight. So if I wanted, I could move the engine back over that way. Which way have I moved it? I've moved it towards me to get this right. So if I did put the sprocket on the inside of here, can you see that? You walk round here. Yeah, you can see the sprocket. If I did just mount the sprocket on the inside of this, I could move the engine that way a 1/4 inch if I'm short of room here, but I think I'll be fine. And that's set with, at the moment the way that's set, if the wheel was all the way back, it would be 53 inch wheelbase. Now of course, as I've mentioned with the fork angle and all the rest of it, it's a 53 inch wheelbase now when it's standing, but this swings on an arc, so when that's up here it's going to be 53 and whatever, a 1/4, an 1/8, same as the fork angle changes as you're riding. So that's all looking good. Now, as I say, I have to make the gussets for here. I have to make some little butterflies for where I made the bends, when I did the little ply cuts. I've also, you see here, got the caliper in. Now, as I mentioned, this caliper has got to be shortened slightly. Well, not the caliper, but the mounting plate has got to be shortened slightly. And this thing here, let me zoom you in on this. This thing here has got a collar and that will fit into a plate with a slot in it. Because when we put these brakes on the B50, you remember the B50 adjusts the chain by moving the swinging arm. So the swinging arm and the caliper are always in the same position relative to each other. So there we could make this a fixed mounting, because the wheel didn't move when you were adjusting the chain. The wheel, the swinging arm, the caliper, everything moved. Here, the adjustment is going to be by moving the wheel itself. So we can't have this fixed. I've got to keep looking. Yep. We can't have this fixed because the wheel spindle goes through the mounting plate. So that's got to be able to move with the wheel inside the swinging arm. So as I say, that is as far forward as it goes and everything clears. So when we adjust the chain, it'll actually come back a little bit. So as well as doing these gussets, we've also got to make up a plate that's going to go down here for that to slide in. It'll move. Actually, we can have it closer like that. So that's everything. There's the brake bleeds here. The brake, the caliper thing, the hose will come out. We can have the hose come out and go over the top. So we just need a piece of plate there. Right, so let me go and start cutting some little butterflies and things, and then we'll do take this back off and do our gusseting. Right, so I cut these out. There's a top and bottom of each. So these are the left hand side. This is the right hand side, up nearest the swinging arm pivot. The one down at the bottom I'm going to leave for the moment because we have that plate to put on for the sort of torque thing for the disc caliper, and these are going to be on where the two arms are. And when these are on, I'm going to put a piece in there as well and box the whole thing in so it's all strong. So let's see about clamping these up and getting them bronzed on. So there it is, tacked anyway with bronze, so they're on. As I say, I'm not doing this one until I know exactly where that plate's going to go and things like that. That's tacked on, still hot actually, so they're tacked on there and there. Then what I'm going to do here is make a piece to go in there, and then that'll box all that up and should make it really rigid. Okay, so let me set on, finish this bronzing, and then we'll make that piece for in there. Alright, so there it is, all done at that end with the piece in here. Pardon me. Oh, thought I was going to sneeze then. So that's all in, all done. So let me put it in and then we'll see about the caliper. Oh, the caliper, I've shortened that. Actually, I should have marked it, because after I'd cut it off, I couldn't remember whether the thick side went on this side or that side. I mean, I came and tried it, but I was still a bit dubious until I actually put it in here. Right, so there it is on, with the caliper in, all lines up beautifully. So what I'm going to do is bring the welder over here, and then we'll just turn that over like that, and we can make this here. Because of course it's falling, almost I could have made this to come up here like that, but not exactly. Well, I suppose I could have done if I'd have really thought about it. But everything clears, so all I've got to do now is make a piece of plate that goes there for it to slide in. Okay, so let's go and get a bit of cardboard. Right, so I have made a cardboard template. So that's going to go on there like that, and that gives that plenty of room to move. Actually be more like that. So actually let me mark that because I'm shorten it slightly. That's going to be there. It needs to go to there. So I'll redo that curve. Right, because this is at the back. So that's at the back. This moves approximately an inch. It's 1.5 inches the slot. But of course the centre part only moves an inch because there's this much touching there, and then when it's at the other end there's that much touching there. So there's basically 1 inch movement there. So we've got plenty here. I think I put 1.25 inches in just to be on the safe side. So let me go and cut that out. And as I say, I'll bring the welder over here and we can actually put a nut on and everything and bronze it in situ. So how we want it to be the right thickness. It looks like it's going to be 1/4 inch to be. (3/16) because we'll run the nut up right to the end there. It can go up tight against the end of the thread, and it isn't a tight fit in the slot, so that'll be fine. Right, well I've cut the piece out and filed it to shape, so now we are going to mill a 3/8 slot in it. This from, but it's a nice new roughing end mill with the shaped end that you can plunge with. There we go. Very nice. What a difference a sharp tool makes. Right, let me deburr the edges. Well, I'd forgotten that when I was doing the slots for the swinging arm, I'd set the vice at, I can't remember what, so many degrees. So I've put it on a little slope, but it doesn't matter. Right, I think I've got everything ready. So I milled a little cut out there to go around the bronze that's on the other side of here. So that is going to go in there like that. And where is it? It's going to go on there. This will hold it in place. Actually, I think I might put a washer on the back as well. I don't want it tight up against that, so let me put a washer on the back. give myself a little bit of space, and a smaller washer on the front so it's not in the way of the TIG torch. Bit of a tight squeeze down here in the corner, and that's going to go on there. I just had it, there it is. Put that there like that. Oh, I've got to take, have I got to take a little bit off that? I need to take a tiny little bit more off there. Right, so I think we're all set now. Of course my hand's going to be in the way, but I've got to have something to lean on. I won't exactly shake too badly, but in fact I don't shake at all really. This is slightly awkward. You know what? This stool is too high. Right, we'll try again. Oh yeah, see, I thought the chair was going to be too low, but it's not. I've upped the amps a little bit as well, because this is thickish material. Oh, that's better. That tight. And that there. All right. So let me finish this and then we'll flop it over and see if it actually works. There's that bronzed on there, and on the other side, and on the other side, and I had a nice gap in there, so the bronze went right in, and then I was able to grind it out for the nut to go on. So let me put this on. There, it's all in now. Now of course I can't move the wheel because that's clamped up, but the can get in the way here. So there's that. That all moves nicely. Okay. So that's that done. Actually, we want it to be here. Okay, so I'm just going to fill these ends. Not going to worry too much about that. We're going to need a prop stand on this, which, as you know, I always do last when I can see where the bike is going to be. And we're going to need chain tension on this side. But I'm going to leave all those until the bike's actually made up and I've got a chain on and everything. So that's going to be it for this week. Next week we will make the box that all this mounts in up at the front here. The box for in there, and then we can see about, hang on, the box in here, then we can see about our frame tube, our top frame tube. So basically we'll be starting on the frame next week. So until then, you stay safe and enjoy yourselves.